It's like, Dave, I'm not trying to get rich off of credit cards, okay? I'm trying to use a tool and I'm trying to take advantage of the fact that there's companies willing to give me points to use their payment method. In this video, I want to talk about Dave Ramsey and my experience with his recommendations, his baby steps, and his whole program as someone who's gone through all of it and intentionally breaks a lot of the rules. For that, stick around. My name is Lane. I'm so happy that you're here. Whether you're a Dave Ramsey fan or you've never heard of him or you think he's horrible, you're in the right place to see how a great financial plan can be flexible, even if it's coming from the most inflexible financial planner that there is, Dave Ramsey.
This is just stupid.
Normally on this channel, we talk about self-publishing, personal development, and online business. So if you like any of those topics, I have something for you. If you go to lanesebring.com/5steps, you can pick up my free 5-step guide to writing a #1 best-selling book, which I've done. My first book was a #1 bestseller in its category on Amazon, and I would love to put that guide in your hands, telling you exactly how I did it. I feel like it's important for me to give a little bit of context to my experience with Dave Ramsey and his program. I actually learned who he was 17 years ago when I was 17, and I was just talking to a friend about money management, and he said, hey, there's this thing called Financial Peace that you should really do. And it was like $80 to buy the kit, but I looked at just a little bit of what he had to teach, and I was like, I'm doing this. So I bought the kit, and I went through Financial Peace University as a 17-year-old. And a lot of those concepts really helped me through my college years. It actually kept me from getting a credit card and abusing it when I was in college, which I feel like was a really good thing. Then when I got married to my wife several years later, this was when I was 26, we got married and we had the typical buildup of car loans and student loans and things like that we had just accumulated on both sides. So we get married and we get an expensive apartment. We lived in the DC area, so everything's expensive. So we just went ahead and got like a expensive apartment in a high rise, and we were like, we're just gonna live like everyone else lives. We had 2 incomes, we were making good money, and a lot of it was just going right out the door because we weren't budgeting and we weren't keeping track of what we were spending, and we were just maintaining all these debts. I had remembered, hey, you know what? There was this guy, Dave Ramsey. He's got some really good stuff to say. Let's go grab his stuff and let's take a look at it. So we actually bought Financial Peace University, again, the newer version. Within 2.5 months of taking Dave Ramsey's course, we got rid of about $24,000 in debt, including 2 car loans, 2 student loans, and a little bit that we had on credit cards. And we started living on a budget. And we said, we're gonna go all in with Dave Ramsey. Like if he says it, it's the gospel truth, and we're just gonna live by it as if it were the only way to live. And we did that for a couple years, and it really actually helped us. It was what we needed at that time. We were able to pay off our debt, save an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months, and begin to invest in retirement. And it was a really great experience, and it served us well. Along the way, though, we started to deviate from some of the things that Dave Ramsey teaches. Now, if you're a hardcore Dave Ramsey follower, that is like anathema, it's heresy, you don't like to hear that, which is fine. I would love for you to comment and tell me if you think that I'm wrong or you disagree. But what we decided to do was we said, listen, we are tracking our spending, okay? We have a budget, we're following it line by line, on paper, on purpose, before the month begins, exactly how Dave teaches. And so we said, we kind of really could use credit cards because we're not going to spend any more than we are currently using debit cards or cash. And with credit cards, we get points. And so we decided to go ahead and do it. And so we got the Chase Sapphire Preferred Visa, which I have a link to down below. It is an incredible card. I love it so much. The points are amazing. Let me just tell you from the outset, if you can't handle a credit card, if you're gonna abuse it, if you're gonna carry a balance, it's not worth it. So I do agree with him there that if credit cards are just something that you're going to abuse, you can't handle it, then yes, do not use credit cards. But for me and my wife, we have never carried a balance. We've always paid it off in full every single month. In fact, we have it set up to automatically pay. We don't even have to think about it. So every single expense that we put on our credit card, and every month it pays off the entire balance automatically. And this does a couple of things. One is it keeps more money in our checking account at a time because our money is being spent on the credit card. And so our balance is typically high and then pays off but it just keeps, the money isn't coming in and out of our checking account as much. The credit card is building up a massive amount of points. And Dave is so unwavering on this. This is one of the things that kind of bothers me about Dave, and I understand where he's coming from, and he's far more successful than I am, so, it is what it is. But Dave is unwilling to admit any benefit to a credit card. And when people call in, here's what he says. People will call in and they'll say, Dave, I pay my credit card off every single month. I've never carried a balance. I've never paid an interest charge. And we were able to use all these points to take our family on a free vacation. Totally something that we would say to Dave. We've totally done that. Hey, listen, we haven't paid for a hotel room in years. This has enabled us to go on more trips than we ever would have been able to do if we were just paying out of pocket. It truly, for us, it is free money. And so what he does is he puts up this straw person argument where he goes off and he says, I got lots of friends that are millionaires. I got a lot of millionaire friends. Not one of them said, Dave, the way I got rich, using credit cards.
I met with thousands and thousands of millionaires. I've never met one that said, Dave, I made my money with my airline miles. Oh, those Discover points broke me through financially.
It's like, Dave, I'm not trying to get rich off of credit cards, okay? I'm trying to use a tool, and I'm trying to take advantage of the fact that there's companies willing to give me points to use their payment method. That's pretty amazing. So that's my first objection, that it's just like, man, Dave, we have a massive benefit as a family. For example, I just bought the dopest, I just bought a really nice pressure washer, okay, for my house. I bought a Honda pressure washer. Guess what? This was $450, but I was able to cash in points to Lowe's, and I got $350 in gift cards. So that pressure washer cost me $100. So $100 for a pressure washer that costs $450 that I'm going to probably use for the next 10 plus years is a pretty amazing benefit of credit cards. So for us, we've just decided, listen, we have a budget. We know how to manage our money. We're never going to spend more than we actually have, able to pay off the very next time the bill is due, immediately when it's due, automatic. And so for us, it's just not a problem. The other rule that we broke is we bought a car and we financed it. Now, I know for some people, this is gonna be like, okay, you're the dummy. I can't believe you broke Dave's rules. You're gonna have this financial calamity come upon you. Shame on you. Everything bad that's coming to you, you earned it. Well, let me just tell you, we had a Dave Ramsey car that we paid cash for when we started this program. It was a 2002 Ford Escape. We paid $4,000 cash for that car. We were super excited. It was pretty nice for the money, but it had 150,000 miles on it, but it was ours and we had no car payment. But you know what we did have? We had constant repairs. We were always taking that thing to the shop. And so the loss of use of the car's in the shop, so we can't drive it, and no one's given us a loaner for a $4,000 15-year-old car. That ain't happening. So we had to just deal with the fact that we had loss of use. And then not only that, we had to plan for a significant amount of car repair just constantly. So by the time we got rid of that car, we sold it for $200 because it completely blew up, almost killed us on the interstate when it just died. Right getting onto the interstate on an on-ramp. Had it died just a little bit further down the road, it would have been very, very, very bad. And so when we added it up, and we this $4,000 car that we paid cash for, that we owned, that we didn't have car payments, ended up costing us $365 a month average just from repairs. And because of Dave and his advice, we were like, well, we're not going to sell it because we own it and that's better than not owning it. And so we'll just keep it and we'll try to work with it. And it just never worked out. It was $1,000 repair after $1,500 repair after $1,000 repair. And it was just like, why are we throwing money into this piece of crap old car? So we bought a car that has a payment and it's manageable and it's allowed us to drive completely repair-free for the last 5 years, which is a pretty amazing thing. Other than that, I actually really love the stuff that Dave teaches. I think that it's really good common sense advice, like he says. I don't agree completely with his investing advice. I might do a video on that a little bit later. But here's the thing. I think that by and large, if you take what Dave says and you decide, I'm gonna do this, but maybe not that, that's perfectly fine. The thing that I have such a huge problem with is when people treat Dave Ramsey like he's the second coming of Christ, that there's nothing that he's ever said that could be wrong or questioned, or maybe there's a better way of doing it. Let me just tell you, there is, okay? And you have to decide for you and for your family what you're gonna do and why you're gonna do it. And at the end of the day, Dave Ramsey is not the boss of your family and your finances. So take what's good and leave what's bad. Take what works for you and don't do the other thing. That's what you should do with me. That's what you should do with anybody that you're watching online. Even if you trust them, you have to make the right decision for your family. And for us, we've just decided, hey, listen, credit cards are a great tool. At some point, we needed a better car. One last thing that I think is somewhat incomplete about Dave Ramsey's advice is anytime somebody calls and what they have is an income problem. In other words, it's not that they're spending too much money, it's that they're not making enough money. Anytime that's the case, where he needs to tell someone, hey, you really need to get more money, when he starts talking about side jobs, he goes straight to things like deliver pizza, drive for Uber. And there's nothing wrong with delivering pizza or driving for Uber, but those forms of income are trading time for money. There's no scalability. There's no fixed amount of work and disproportionate results, which is what I like to teach on this channel, whether it's through online business or self-publishing or any other way that you can make money passively. A lot of work up front, but then it's a disproportionate result, so it becomes passive income and scalable. So if you're interested in videos like that, I have a whole playlist right here on online business that you can check out. Those are my thoughts on Dave Ramsey. I'd love to hear from you in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.
Really, seriously, you've got to stop and think.